Get a sip of water. Quitting the vape today, dude. It's gonna be tough.
Good.
I know.
You get to my
I
level.
know. Oh my god. Oh my god. Here we go. All right, here we go.
Yeah, let's do it.
In three, two. Hello and welcome to Left Coast Live. It is Monday, June 16th, 2025. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, joined as always by Stat Pat, stateless patriot of the Central Valley. We are California lefties coming to you live about national politics, state politics. They all seem to be the same thing these days.
Yeah.
The lots going on this weekend. I think there's been a lot of coverage of it already that our audience has probably already seen. So I kind of like to get a right to it style of connecting with guests when we decide to have guests on shows. So, Stat Pat, or do you have anything you would like to say before we bring in our wonderful guest of this Monday?
Well, I mean, not anything particularly. Hello, Megan. I'm.
Megan's already commenting.
Yeah. She says hi as
Okay,
usual.
nice.
Yeah. Let's bring it on. I'm actually male loneliness and whatnot. That's actually it's a very interesting topic, especially nowadays. So I'm interested to see how the conversation plays out and learn a little bit about our guest as well.
Yeah, with no further ado, please welcome to the show Olivia Talbott from my old LA days. And we have had many a good conversation about the youth vote and understanding it a little bit better, particularly the men, which are obviously much more easy for me to relate to. Although I say that intellectually, and then I listen to you talk about the research, and I'm like, wow, I can't relate to these guys at all. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your area expertise and what everyone should know about the male loneliness epidemic. I have a feeling we're going to get a nice little monologue here. Take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. This is so fun. My name's Olivia. I have a history in organizing and some activism in LA. I volunteered on both Bernie campaigns. In my early days, I learned a lot through working on a handful of more neoliberal or kind of what I like to call one in particular, Who Care campaigns. For a city council member, there was a no on building measure where I learned a lot about LA city building ordinances. Yeah, and then I volunteered. I was an organizer with White People for Black Lives for a little while and worked on Measure J. And I run a small business as a professional astrologer where I do really fun things like look at the birth charts of Israel and sometimes Iran and sometimes different politicians and also you and your boyfriend. So
yes.
Cool.
check in about it.
Yeah, I'm a fire sign, right? Something like that.
Aries. Yes,
Aries,
Peter
yes.
is an Aries. I'm sure you can tell. I hope you guys can
Yes.
tell. His description of the pod really makes that clear. So
Yes.
just
Well,
reading
you got to stand out some way. And I also messed around with naming the show a little bit, a couple of different things. One of them was the offensive progressive, but I just decided to go back to my roots with American Wasp because the whole precedent is like, why should you listen to me? And the answer is, if you want to understand the psychology of the ruling class, then you should listen to me. For you, I think you might be the best access point that I've come across for a woman to empathize with what's going on with men, why men are so desperate and retreat intellectually to places like the manosphere with all these douchebags who are obviously to us like losers who want to feel like winners without like doing anything or being anything special. Obviously, it's so fucking transparent.
Yeah.
And then there's like this Gen Z guys like, oh, these guys are sick. Like these guys are fucking getting laid and disrespecting women. And like, why can't I get the women? What's the fuck? What's going on?
Yes.
Is it that simple? I mean, it seems to me like they just got really bad influences.
Yeah.
Really bad influences. You know what? It's a product of the times. It's a product of failing literacy, which is intentional. And I think AI is a large, overwhelming driving force. And I think the direction of hyper capitalism and corporatization demands that the academically literate who challenge the status quo and the systems at hand, it needs us to tap into TikTok rot brain, which I say as a TikTok influencer. So what shit am I talking really? But yeah, the kids can't even read a passage from a book, right? They're using Chat GPT to finish everything. So the notion that they could follow through with anything that requires mental rigor, stamina, getting out of your comfort zone to do just about anything, especially expose yourself to rejection, is very far out of their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
It almost reeks, and you tell me what you think, Step-Up, but this reeks of American exceptionalism, like a derivative of American exceptionalism. Like, especially for men, like having to feel like winners all the time, and really and if they don't get good influences early on in life, they don't know how to earn that feeling. You know what I mean? Whether it be on the athletic field or in this classroom or at work or even in, social life, like, hosting a killer party. Like, I mean, there's just, they don't have a lot going on. They refuse to change.
There needs to be an attitude where you must dare to fail. You must encounter the possibility that you might. Rejection and failure are essential for personal growth. If you're just being handed everything or taking shortcuts and cutting corners, you're not actually achieving anything. You're just getting the accolades for not actually making actual efforts. You're basically cheating your way through life. It's insane now how many people that just remark offhand, like, I asked Chat GPT this, or I asked Grok this. It's just like you like you might as well consult a magic fucking 8 ball. Like it's like you're not. If you're not putting any effort into personal growth and you're letting everything do it for you, you're not setting yourself up for success later down in life, because like you're so you're right, D. There is like an American exceptional thing. It's like an offshoot of that, because you want to feel like you're the best, you want to feel like you're number one, but you're not actually doing anything and putting the time in and the effort to actually achieve that. It's completely fraudulent.
And I wonder if we're talking about the concept that was, as a suburban kid, introduced to through school, going to school with a bunch of kids from the inner city, toughness. And what we're talking about, like the way I was taught to learn, the learning process wasn't complicated. It was just hard. It was try, fail, learn, try again, and just keep going until you get it right.
Yeah. No, it's crazy how like this younger generation just doesn't want to try new things. Like I mean, it's anecdotal, but I can like point to my roommates as a really good example. They're like they're in their young 20s, so there's like right in the middle of Gen Z, and it doesn't seem like they have a hunger, a desire to go above and beyond, learn new things, put themselves in situations where like there's a chance they may fail. But it's like if you're not even putting yourself in the position to even try to accomplish something new or bolster yourself up in your like in your life, be it financially or personally, or just learning something new that you can utilize for yourself, it's kind of depressing. It's just like people are so like, especially the younger generations, just seems so quick to just give up, and it's
weak.
Yeah,
it's weak.
It's just like, come on.
Yes. Bad parents, no resilience. I mean, the word, the word, like, and by the way, resiliency is, I know technically a word, but it's not the original word. The original word is just resilience. I see a lot of athletes talk about it's our resiliency. It's like, no, it's just resilience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the toughness that we're talking, the word toughness we're here is like intellectually is resilience. It's just being able to try it again after you failed and try to get it right and then keep trying until you get it right. And they don't do that with women because, I mean, this is a direct, you tell me what you think, Olivia. This is the other side of the sword of objectifying women in pop culture and treating women like a scorecard, right?
Yeah.
Like that's, and if they don't put up any home runs on the board, if by the time they're, 27, then their confidence issues are going to just get worse and worse and worse throughout their late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah. Well, earlier you were talking about the experience in school of failing, getting up, trying again. I think a lot of them, because that's a beautiful thing, because that builds healthy self-esteem and it's empowering. It is inherently empowering. And I think a lot of them, they don't even know, they haven't even had a taste of that. And it makes me wonder a lot about what situations their parents have or have not exposed them to, because the experience of doing something hard and doing it anyway over and over feels really good. Like things like gray matter, for instance, or learning another language, both of those things are extremely difficult. They grow the gray matter in your brain. That feels good. They don't know about things like that. And I think a lot of this is actually related to, I think there's a bigger porn addiction than we even realize for men, and we know it's bad, but I would guess it's probably worse than what we even know. And that messes with their dopamine, where then it's not only is it not interesting, but it has conditioned them to not only objectify women, but objectify them at like the most extreme levels, because modern porn isn't even like as half as empowering or interesting for the women actors as it was in like the 80s. Like these older men, like I have a bunch of friends like hooking up with older dudes, and they'll be like, yeah, it sounds gross, but he's better than these young dudes. They don't work. They are addicted to porn. It's broke. They are not worth my time. And not just that, they're broke and depressed about it. So it's like, what am I going to do?
Prophecy.
What am I doing?
It's something that we've heard for years and years and years. I mean, and it is true. I mean, to an extent, it is true. Like, especially if you have an unhealthy relationship with consuming porn in general. But the thing is, of which is true, it sets unrealistic expectations for men who want to get into relationships with women. It really is just looking at them at objects instead of people with thoughts and feelings and lives and personal experiences and opinions and a whole background like all of us do. And to the extent where it's like affecting, I think I do agree with you. It's affecting a lot of men, especially a lot of young men, and the way that they perceive how women should be. And it comes back to that entitlement thing too, because you're looking at completely unrealistic scenarios a lot of the time, because a lot of it could be rather extreme. It's just like that's not how relationships work. That's not how love works and whatnot. And so if you're exposed to this extreme content, like I said, you're going to have realistic expectations, and it's going to warp the minds of young men. It's going to confuse them, and just the disrespect is bound to just blossom out of that, like unhealthy consumption.
So it's a tragedy, because now there are these dating apps which are tools for transcending these difficult times for men who don't know how to attract women, where they could just get online, throw some pictures up, and bit a really honest description of themselves. And I mean, that's the other thing, is it depends on where you live. But if they live in a decently well populated area, if you put in the hustle, if you put in the time, you're going to find some people to go on dates with. You just got to put in the work. they resent the fact that they have to put in the work. And it's like, dude, that's like the
Yeah.
chivalry part, man. Like, get over it. And
Right.
there's a lot of benefits to being the guy in the relationship, particularly, by the way, if it goes the distance and you start having kids, because guess what? She's got to do the work in that one.
And not to sound like old timey about it too, but like there really is something to that like old school mentality of like just basic respect towards women. Like you can hear it in like for example like country music. Like there is a like an ingrained respect to a lot of old school love songs that you hear.
Yeah, I'll call. Wait, hold on though. Hold on. Let me call out the country music call, because like a majority of the country music songs that you're thinking of that you might do that are usually treating the woman as an excuse for the guy to get into a fight with another guy.
Well, yeah, there is that too, but and there's also just like the sad like tear in your beer. It's just like I treated her wrong and I feel so bad.
Yeah, she left
there's
me.
some bangers out there for sure, but I mean the ultimately like the old school mentality of you got to treat her right. It does hold a lot of merit, and I think that just like especially nowadays, it's just vanished with the advent of the internet and
But
mass
let's not let
media
off the parent.
consumption.
Let's not let the parents off the hook for being lazy and
Yeah,
sticking the kids in front of screens. I mean, how
that's
many times in the last
part of it
10
too.
years when you go out to eat in the last 10 years, and I think the frequency's gone down, but there was a period of time there when I finished grad school, whatever, when I was out dating and like going out with friends, I would see kids with the headphones and then watching the iPad while the parents were having dinner. And I'm like, that's screwing the kid up. I don't know
Yeah,
how exactly, but
you
that's
got
screwing the kid
you
up.
gotta
Like
have
it's
connection.
and
Like
if I could, I remember when I was dating back in the day before I found my now wife. I was thinking like it got so much easier, like you were talking about, Olivia, at the end, when you just kind of like accept who you are and what you hate. Like a lot of life is figuring out what you hate and what you can tolerate.
yeah,
And towards the end, I was very confident in what I wanted and how to figure it out, whether or not this person in front of me would, and I were compatible. Um, and I think these guys like never got the advice, the older brother advice that I wish I had gotten,
yeah, me too.
which is just shut up and listen.
Mhm.
Like, don't worry about responding. Don't worry about coming up and being impressive, because that's the definition of a douchebag, right? Is a guy that's trying to act like he's more badass than he is and front like he's special instead of just kind of letting it speak for himself. And that's the thing that I wish I could have gone back and told myself in my 20s when I was dating, was like, dude, just listen, and the answer will come, and you'll figure out whether or not you're supposed to be together. And the other side of that is, if you fail, if it doesn't work out, then you've that come that much closer to figuring out what you do want. They don't look at it as an exploratory process, dating, that is. They look at it as like a conquest. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
like a reward at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, like a game.
Or, yeah, they're terrified of rejection because they don't know the benefits of how good it can feel to pick yourself up and keep going. But I think, something I like to think about a lot, and me and the geese at the watering hole like to talk about, because most of my friends are single, is how, like, as horrifying as the time we're living through is in terms of the presumed gender wars or whatever the fuck is going on with men.
Yeah,
It's also like a really exciting and incredible time to be alive, because this is the first time in history, like if you guys really start thinking about it, that if a woman is with you, she's choosing you. She's not choosing the necessity of safety and security. Now, it helps if you bring that to the table, and that's why we have a large cultural movement, which I totally respect,
mhm.
of sprinkle women who are like, if he doesn't have a bag, I'm not rolling with this motherfucker because I can make my own. Like, what does he bring to my table, right? And
Yeah.
that's a reasonably sound, sane argument to make. And cheers to those women. Cheers to all women. Cheers to those women. But I think if men chose to view it as wow, a lot more men are single now than ever have been. But also, just like since the beginning of time, men are still fucking dead bodies, men that work in that industry. Men are still fucking turkeys that they work with and animals that we are eating. Like there are men that are fucking those animals that we are consuming while working with them.
What?
Yes, that's who men are and who men have always been since the beginning of time. So if a lot of men sit with, damn,
I
a
learned
lot of
something today.
single, but also like a lot of men since forever have been freaks, pedos, psychos. And you know what? If I am with a woman, she chose me. And like if I can find one and if I can do this hard work and accomplish this thing, and get with the source of where it begins, because with all women, like, I'm certainly no gross turf out here. With all women in some which way, either physically or energetically, life begins with us. Like we bring life into y'all's energy and spirit. So being close to us is the ticket,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean that's so I came from
Completely
a
agree.
pretty dysfunctional household, and my brothers and I always dreamed of having a sister because she could have gotten my dad to stop yelling and my mom to stop talking about Jesus. And
Wow.
it's because I mean you have to, like, if they're your blood, then you're gonna listen to them, and that's why I always feel like there's that show. Well, quick tangent, really quick. Have you guys watched Friends and Neighbors on Apple TV Plus?
No, I have not.
All right, check it out.
looking it up right now.
Yeah, it's with John Hamm. It's pretty great.
Oh,
It's
I saw it. Yeah. Isn't it?
yeah,
It's a comedy, right? It's like
it's a dark comedy, I would call it. Dark comedy crime. Dark comedy crime. Yeah, something like that. But anyway, there's a sister character in there that is just fantastic. I'm like, even though she's so fucked up, she's bipolar, like a really bad bipolar, and she grows a lot over the course of the season. And you're like, man, I wish I had someone like that. Like she's really loyal, and even though she's fucked up, that would have been cool. But through the dating years, I made a lot of good friends, good women that are now friends. So I was grateful for those days because, guys who are older than me, I'm right on the border. I just turned 41, and guys who are older than me really missed the swiping culture, and guys who are younger than me were like right in the thick of it. And I feel like if you miss that wave, it's funny. It's just like, it's so funny the way you talk about with the data, and you're explaining and laying out all the psychology of it pretty clearly. And I'm just like, with the dating apps, there's just no fucking excuse. Like, it's like, I just don't understand. And the internet, like, there's so many good gurus out there that can, like, women who can, like, here's how to talk to women. Like, go get on YouTube and like find them.
Real. I've actually
Is it really that hard to just research like how women operate? And it really is just listening. I mean, it really is just paying attention and listening.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
if you're
really
gonna
just comes
sit
down to that one behavioral thing.
if you're gonna sit there and listen to like a bunch of dude bros in a circle like talk on a podcast, it shouldn't be that hard to listen to women like sit around on the podcast and like listen to like what they're looking for, what makes them tick, and how like a relationship with them could or should work out. Like, yeah, it really does just come down to listening. And I'm so grateful in my early 20s, I did date someone who really did just like kind of shake me awake and make just make me see, like it just woke me up basically, like treat just see women as people, like and just listen to what they had to say, like with like like I said before, backstories, feelings, opinions, and it's such a simple thing, yet so like there's just too many men who don't have that who haven't been exposed to that like sort of empathy yet. Like just put yourself in someone else's shoes. It doesn't even have to be a woman. Just like understand where someone else is coming from. Meet them at their level.
Yeah, it's weird because men, it's almost as if they don't look around society and clock what's around, because it's very clear in both the data and just general observations that the happiest men that statistically also live the longest are married, committed men that give their lives to a woman. Like almost every man I've dated, I mean, outside of one shorter term relationship, have been very good men, like the pinnacle of what the options are.
Right.
And as they devoted, I'm not the queen of fucking Egypt, but I know my worth. So like as they devoted their lives to me, all of them consecutively started to be more successful, make more money, dress better, get fitter, lose weight. It's like this is how this works. And that's how that's worked since the beginning of time. And like your association with a woman gives you additional social power and social trust. There is nothing else that gives you that power in the way that your association with women does. And that will only become more powerful in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And women will only distance themselves further from men as the collective unless there's a big 180 soon. And if I had to make a prediction, just as somebody who pays attention to the zeitgeist and socially what's going on, as well as being like a general intuitive, it would be, I do want to believe that over the course of the next year to 3 years, there's going to be an uprising of more neo-lib type of dudes who want success, being like, hey, men, come over here. If you treat women like this and play this game, you can be associated with them, and that will be good for you in XYZ ways. Now, are those the right reasons?
Hopefully, yeah.
And will a lot of women still reject those men? Sure. But some of them, maybe half of them, will probably end up with a woman. Mm-hmm. And that is something.
Yeah, it's just becoming a unit,
But this was the insight. So this is where I think women are socially superior to men, is that they acknowledge their powerlessness with respect to influencing men. Whereas you're saying like that 180 happens by way of a male influence getting in their face and saying, try it this way. It's not going to be a woman telling them to do it that way. It's going to be a man telling them to do it that way.
Bingo.
And I'll never forget when I was driving for Uber back in the day, like 10 years ago. I got in the car with this family got in the car, and the stepmom was in the shotgun seat. The dad was right behind her. And then the two kids who were biologically connected to dad, and obviously the stepmom, she was a different race. So I could tell that it was not, she was a stepmom. She was not the real mom. And the stepmom started talking to the boy. There's a boy and a girl. And of course, the boy's the troublemaker, right? And he's like, so Bobby, you were doing this and it was driving me a little crazy. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there driving, and dad's behind her as she's going through these lessons of like, you did this and you upset the kid, and then you did this and you upset the parent, and you got to do this better. And like almost like a review of the day on how like the kid needs to work on how he behaves. And the dad's just sitting behind them. He's like, yeah, 100%. She's so right. Hope you're listening. And then I just want to turn around and be like, he's never going to listen to her because she's not his mother. Right. You need to be the one to tell him this shit, Dad.
Step up. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's bring Freud in here, right? What does it all circle back to? They're looking for Big Daddy. They're all looking for Dad.
Yeah.
All of them looking for Dad. So we need the dad figures, right? The men. I actually do think about this a lot. Like the handful of good men I've dated that still couldn't hang on, but nonetheless, I've all separately like begged to create bigger male communities, because good men like y'all, if you were to go out there and try to do that, I mean, I can't tell you the benefits to not only society, but also it would be a wonderful opportunity to just like be a mentor and create community. But all of these men, what they are looking for is daddy, right?
Yeah.
Anyone in the like build of I will step forth and tell you that women are people and this is how to do that math.
Honestly,
They want that so bad.
honestly,
Yeah.
it's like so bad out there, and I've just sitting and observing it for years and years. At this point, it's like I've considered making a channel that's just basically along the lines of that content,
But
because like there are people, like I will interact with certain people online and whatnot, and people who are just so disrespectful and derogatory towards women, because maybe the women are standing up for themselves or expressing themselves in a way that's improper, whatever the
or
fuck
they're
that
just not
means.
interested, or they're
Or
just not interested, and he keeps
yeah,
pushing
yeah,
it. Is probably what it is. That's what it
r-
usually is.
right. And I step in and be like, hey, no, like they can do what they want. This is just how they're expressing themselves, or this is how they feel about this and whatnot. And it's like you don't get to dictate that. And like of all the fucking time, it's like, hope she sees this, bro. It's just like, oh, here comes the white knight. It's just like, bro, you've lost the fucking plot.
But these kids, like, I'm interested in the psychological profile of these guys because I coach lacrosse, and these guys are really tight, good dudes. I mean, I think a lot of them do well with ladies. So I think the guys that we're talking about, like, they just don't have anything in their life that makes them feel like a winner. You know, they don't have anything that makes them feel like a winner, and they feel like, probably because of what you were saying earlier with the porn addiction, they feel like that's the biggest shortcut. It's like, oh, I'll just go bang some hot girl and that'll make me feel like a winner.
No.
Like it's almost like a drug or something. It's like a social drug or something.
Yeah, well, Esther Perel talked about it this week on Diary of a CEO, and she calls it. Esther Perel is an incredible psychotherapist. She's very famous. She's a writer, but she called it sex with the self. And she said, it's not that men aren't having sex anymore. Men are having porn, sex with the self. And the way she walked through and described it was really spooky and horrifying, because it's not that masturbation or porn is the devil. It's more so that if all of the sex you're getting is you do it and then you're alone, and then, like, what is that internal experience and what does that create? Darkness.
Yeah.
And then also, like, I know y'all aren't on the girls and the gays side of TikTok or the social chat, but one of the big movements, one of the big chats being had is about DL men, right? Like men that are closeted and not coming out. And I think a really interesting part of that conversation that's come up for women is this new movement of like simps only. We should only date men who consider themselves simps because those are the only men that are guaranteed to be straight anyway. And it's not about looking for a hyper straight man or being anti-bisexual man. It's more so there is a lot of data that shows that a lot of men in the closet do a lot of harm to women. Not just, obviously there's stuff like you can bring in diseases, maybe there's lying going on, but then physical harm. Like they are more likely to be violent because they have their secrets that they resent because of patriarchy, and there's the whole umbrella. But yeah, I think it's all really interesting to think about, and it's interesting to think about how simps are the quintessential straight man. Like if you're thinking about what healthy masculinity is, or like healthy straight men, it's somebody that happily, proudly wants to drink Sydney Sweeney's bathwater, or someone who's
Yeah, but okay. So here's the problem, though. So So the way you're talking, let me tell you what's like. And you're not doing this because of what I just said earlier about how you recognize that the messenger almost matters more than the message with respect to this shit, with respect to getting through to the type of guys that we're talking about. But what that when they hear simp and they think that it's a guy that doesn't know how to fuck a woman properly. They don't, they think that being like, and there's a difference between being like submissive or subservient, right? And it's not that, like, I don't want to lose sight of the word partnership with respect to a man and a woman, but there are certain things that, like, I defer to my wife on a regular basis. because she's just socially superior to me at. And I don't, and it's almost like a gift because maybe it's tedious for her. It might be selfish of me, but I'm just like, okay, I don't need to worry about that because Ariel's got her eye out for it. And, it's all good. Like, we're good. I'll just, make sure she's got I pay attention to her on that particular issue. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of those, the men that we're talking about, like, there's the sex skills are hurt by the porn. They're not helped by the porn because it's only porn. Right? Like, unless they're watching certain kinds of like certain like passionate, connected sex in the search menu or something.
Yeah.
Like, unless they're watching that kind of porn, then I think it's not going to really help them make a woman orgasm, which is what men should take pride in sexually,
or feel connected with them and engaged with them.
But that's how. It's the same thing. I mean, it's the result. It's just the process by way of the versus the result.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you think of that, Olivia?
That brings us, like, the misunderstanding is so interesting to think about because I wouldn't say I don't know the answer. I would say I know the answer. I just have no power to solve it. But that is an intentional algorithm issue, right? That is probably driving the forces quite aggressively with, you have that movement of manosphere that, I don't know, in the UK, they're targeting this politically in a lot of really interesting and progressive ways, looking at how these young men and their sons are being targeted online within months, sometimes even days or weeks of getting their first social media being targeted with like manosphere content versus women, like our side of the internet, we're getting very different conversations where it makes complete sense that we would be like, oh yeah, a simp is a healthfully masculine man that we are looking for that's the best at these things we're looking for. And that a man on the manosphere side would be like, a simp is bad at everything and is sucking up to women. And it's like,
a pussy. They would call a simp a pussy.
You think women don't want to be sucked up to? Who do you know?
Yeah, for real.
What society are you living in? Who are you observing, sir?
No,
they're like, I'm observing Andrew Tate, who's gonna go to jail, I think. Well,
I will say, if you came up with the right, like either you or someone like you, and then you found another kind of female personality, you could have like some sort of YouTube channel that could speak to this. I just don't know what the cut-in point would be. Like, it's too bad Jillian Michaels went conservative because she's got that fitness angle that could have worked for her. But I do feel like there are a handful of women that could have gotten ambitious and tried to been the voice on this. But let's be serious. Like with the Gen Z podcast that I've been on, they still like Rogan. Like they still think Rogan's legitimately worth listening to. And I'm like, so they gotta, until you get through to Rogan, or now Rogan's going Jesus freak. So that's going to be fun. He's going right into my crosshairs. He's getting closer and closer and closer into my fucking bullseye because he is so ignorant, even though he's been in Texas so far. He is so ignorant as to what the Southern Bible beating culture is and how big it is in our culture and society in our country. And now that he's flirting with the evangelicals, man, oh my God. But yeah, like he would be like this manosphere. He wasn't even like a centerpiece of it. He kind of became a part of it over time. But I think he's the number one guy you got to flip and be like, wait a second, like listen to so-and-so. Like that's what women could do, or men could do as well, is they could redirect towards, knowledgeable women who can kind of almost teach, like the sister I was fantasizing about having when I was a kid, could have taught me about women, because my Southern evangelical mother, who was all about, not the cool kind of chivalry, like the excessive, the patriarchal chivalry, that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
So it's a complex conversation, though. Go ahead.
Yeah, with Rogan, because I have not just a theory, but I feel like the numbers support it, that all of the Me Too'd men, the majority of them go super spiritual, super religious very quickly, or spiritual. And I think with Rogan, it's more an ego thing of realizing just how big he screwed the pooch, just how big he fucked up, like being like, yeah, Trump's our guy. That he's like, how am I going to turn this around? How am I going to distract? Because he really only has a few weeks, even maybe a few months before the right fully, they have quietly turned on Trump, but they will, the majority of them will eventually fully, only because it's really hurting their businesses
chances of re-election.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's crazy too, because like that whole part of the internet, that whole part of what have you, name your social media site, it's just filled with people who regurgitate incel content and the manosphere, the bro stuff, the anti-women shit. And it's crazy how pervasive it is, because I actually got into it with a page on Facebook that was basically like full on women shouldn't have the right to vote kind of thing, that kind of garbage. And I got into it with one of the admins, and it's just like, you like you're just perpetuating misery. Like you're a miserable person, so you feel like you need to post all this bullshit. And like, yeah, I'm immune to it because I'm clearly happier than you are, and I don't see women as the enemy and shit. And it's actually kind of crazy how like because I kept on engaging with this page, it didn't take long for incel content to pop up on my algorithms, not just on Facebook but on YouTube as well. It was like clearly videos that were recommended that like were like the clickbaity kind of videos that are designed to make you think, oh, look at this crazy woman, how she reacts to uh this sensible man on so and so topic or issue and whatnot. And it's just like that kind of content's fucking everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the craziness is of like the type of dudes that live in the manosphere and the male loneliness epidemic is their ideal type of woman, that image. They never want her in real life.
No,
they don't.
The number of conservative men that, because my dating profile is very clear, it is very anti-empire, like, I'm not even a girl you could feel safe taking to your little company work party piping down about imperialism. So like, you know where I stand, it's on the table, that are still, and sure, I'm a cute girl and that's part of it. But a big part of it is they like this challenge of a thing. They do like a person, a woman who is a person, so that they can engage with some back and forth, some challenge. Like the pearls of the world, the women that are like the trad box of whatever it is, they don't want to mess with that. They don't want, like, it's weird because in their little utopia, they would be so fucking unhappy and disappointed with their options, and they'd be so pissed off all the time. They'd have a bunch of silent zombie women walking around, they'd live in a world with no laughter, which is like what they live for, attempting to get and presenting when they haven't earned. But it's like you could have none of that, and you would be so fucking miserable.
Yeah, you want someone that challenges you. You want someone that has a good sense of humor. So someone that you're not always going to agree with, because that's someone that you can not only like just be like constantly stimulated by, but also learn a hell of a lot from. So long as like you can just keep an open mind and be respectful. Like my my boss, like he was saying how like him and his wife are just like totally like completely different people, but their dynamic just works because they have a kid, they end up getting married, and they're still constantly like learning a whole bunch about each other. And it's just it just works for some people. You're not going to want someone who's just like endlessly agreeable and is just subservient to you at all times. Like I completely agree with you. If you're basically living with a zombie, you would be miserable.
Yeah, and then we have we also have the modern movement that I love, at least on again, the girls and the gays side of the conversation of, we've had a lot of like women sex workers rise in their followings with bigger voices coming forth to be like, yo, let's all collectively decenter. The decentering men movement is like growing. And I think that is genuinely good for everyone. Like, and I think a lot of men can't see that, but it really is good for everyone, because I think a lot of divorces have been created by women martyring themselves off to men that they're with, and that's a ticking time bomb. Yeah. And as long as she has a way out, she'll always find a way out if that's the dynamic that is created.
Yeah.
If she's a conservative, she's not going to find her way out, though. She's going to stay in there as long as she has to be comfortable. Trust me, I know from experience. The men that you're talking about that will never see that are always going to be conservative.
Right. Or if they can't see it, they can't stand it.
Conservatism in today's world, with the way that the global economy has evolved, for better or worse. And by the way, people think positive change, progressive change, when they hear evolution. That's not necessarily true. It just means adaptation to variables beyond the organism's control.
Right.
So the way the world has evolved into an interdependent global economy, whether we like it or not, it just seems like to resist change for no other reason than it is change, like, is just downright selfish at this point. It just seems like what are you talking about? Things are not going well. Like, we have overpopulation issues, we have environmental issues. Like, your kids aren't going to see Miami because Miami's going to be underwater by the time they can, go down there and actually drink. Like, it's going to be, there's going to be the agriculture belts. If things get really bad with the environment, the agriculture belts are going to go all the way up into Canada, and we're not going to have the agriculture of the heartland of America that we've had for hundreds of years. But I think it comes down to, and we could get into, Olivia, your thoughts on electoralism. I am a loud and proud member. Just to update our audience, to give you guys a little snippet, fun little tangent, is I spent this weekend at the No Kings parade. I'm interested to hear what you did, Olivia, but I went to the No Kings parade near me, and we used it as a recruiting opportunity for the local Democratic Socialists of America for my chapter, and broke out the megaphone, and we got a bunch of people to sign up. So we're growing. My only regret is I wish I had broken out the megaphone earlier. Everyone was like, no, it's too chill. It's not, we don't want to be like too, in your face about it. I'm like, I don't know. This is pretty amazing opportunity, but we got a good number of names. I feel like I want the DSA to be like the spearhead, and maybe it's not, maybe it's another institution. Maybe it's Indivisible. Maybe it's Mobilized. Maybe it's something else. Cause is a good one. But I feel like I want what happened Saturday, the energy on Saturday, to carry and be sticky with people and go with them into their work week. And they're thinking about, hey, first Tuesday of every month, I got my local DSA meeting where, they don't even have to do much. Just go to a meeting and listen to like their fellow political savants talk about what's going on in the political world, so you can transcend the ignorance, the inherent ignorance that comes from digesting just single source media.
Yeah. I think that's great. Yeah. I think the anti-ICE protests and the no kings or no oligarchs stuff is extremely vital and important.
It was successful.
Yeah, I was just learning this morning how I think some of the corporate media, like I didn't realize probably helped spearhead the like no king stuff, because I think we all had a lot of fun with it, but I think it serves them a lot more than no oligarchs, because there was somebody that tweeted, my country definitely has a king and we don't have a quarter of the oligarchs running shit that y'all do. And that's true. I did protest this weekend downtown at City Hall, and similar, Dieter, I was partially working. I did start 2 weeks ago a new gig fundraising for Greenpeace, and the same group that fundraises for them also does the IRC, which is great. They do lots of refugee stuff, but they're Amal Clooney's group that her and George are working with and matching donations with, who are trying to get materials in at the Jordanian and Egyptian border to Gaza. Yeah, so that was a really good experience. Ooh, I've learned something new since fundraising for Greenpeace that's insane that I want to talk about. And maybe y'all already know about this, but if you don't, either way, it's good for everyone to hear about it, which is there has been a landmark Greenpeace case recently that they lost for $660 million over a protest against oil drilling done by Energy Transfer, and they are working on an appeal. But if they lose again, this case would set a precedent for a future and another case, and just the case itself could set a precedent that in the future protesters could be responsible for any damage done in a city due to protest. So it would really be a precedent for the end of protesting in the USA. So yeah, if anybody wants to hit me up, Olivia Talbott, about donating even just $25, $30 a month to Greenpeace to help fight that lawsuit. I'm at Instagram, the Olivia Hope, and my website, millennialastrologer.com, if you want to book. And I'm on TikTok, the Malefic Woman. Malefic. At root in ancient Greek being male, bad. I'm the bad woman. So are you, Dieter, because you're an Aries. Scorpio, Aries, ruled by Mars. Aries, the god of war. We're fighters. We're fighters. Stop.
I was also born in a storm too, so I'm storm-born.
Hey,
so that's another. I have magical powers. Go ahead.
What's your
sign?
July Cancer.
Wait, what day?
The 10th.
Oh, good. What day are you, Dieter?
31st.
1 and 4. You guys are so ambitious. Look at you on here. So ambitious. I love it. This is good. This is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Wow.
Have you taken a look at my essays yet?
Numerology is real. No, wait. Did you email them to me? Where am I supposed to?
No. I'll send you a couple essays because that's what I'm proud of the most. And I'm doing I'm on a platform now called This Space every Wednesday at 4:00 Pacific. That I'll send you a link to because I might have you on there at some point as well. But yeah, the alternative media space, I think that the left is going to grow quite a bit. But the problem with the left has always been unity. It's just like that's the price you pay for a diverse coalition. And that's why, like, I said it before. I think I told you this. Like, politics is Star Trek. Politics is Star Wars. Policy is Star Trek. Political marketing is Jurassic Park. And I think that in terms of political marketing, like, why can't we get everybody unite behind FDR's second Bill of Rights and just start there and just be like, this is the new standard. This is until all of these things that he mentioned in this then is done, then we have more work to do. And that's how I think we can get neo-libs on board, especially with the issue of healthcare. I mean, the healthcare is just so ridiculous. I'm dropping $2,000 a month on my healthcare premiums. And I mean, I know that's not it. And it's actually worse sometimes than that for a lot of people too, with families of 4 and stuff like that who have to get individual insurance. It's a nightmare. So it's just like, what lefty, what Democrat at this point is going to be against universal health care? What are they going to have how are they going to have a problem? Are they still caught up in this, like, how are we going to pay for it argument? Are they still caught up in this? Can they be? I mean, it's like, fuck you, dude. Every other Western society that's developed has a universal health care. Even the conservatives in Britain all agree that there's supposed to be some sort of universal healthcare system.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic about the pendulum swinging back the other way. I think the extent to which it does swing back the other way will depend on the internal politics of the Democratic Party. And by that, I mean, do we leapfrog Gen Xers and go right to millennials as quickly as possible? Because I see Ken Martin, who's the head of the DNC right now, as just a, and you let me know if this is offensive, but he's a complete pussy. Like, he was caught crying on a call with David Hogg because of the position that David Hogg had put him in. It's like, dude, this kid's 27 and he's trying to rally up attention. And by the way, his idea was incredibly popular. It garnered a ton of attention when it was presented to the public, and you just stifled that. And so maybe it's you who needs to look in the mirror and figure out whether or not you measure up to the job. Because, you're saying, like, you don't want to do this anymore. Don't do it. Get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
Bring me killers. Enough of the softies. No more Mr. Nice Guy. That's one thing I think the left can unite around, is no more Mr. Nice Guy. Is this, and you let me know what you think of this, Olivia, whereas like the left's narcissism is ubiquitous equality, right? Equality is a double-edged sword. On the one side, the good side that we all want, equal opportunity society. That's the goal. Equal opportunity society. That's what we're all working for. On the other side of that is equality is equality in the methodology, where anybody can be a good political leader and anybody can do this and anybody can that. It's like, no, I want competitors. If they're artistic, that's cool, but they got to hate losing and they got to hate MAGA and they got to be in touch with their hatred, because there's nothing wrong with hating evil. There's nothing wrong with hating genocide. There's nothing wrong with hating child slavery and, all sorts of fucking prostitution that comes around the world. The world's an ugly place. It's not going to get any better by not looking at the ugly parts. That's one thing the evangelicals like really struggle with, and you can always get them on. It's like, oh, it's icky. It's icky. I don't want to think about it. It's too icky. It's like, well, how the hell is it going to get better if you don't look at it? You got to look at the problem. You got to define the problem. You got to
face the problems of the day, even if they're not your own.
But we're entitled here because of our entertainment culture to think that we don't have to be uncomfortable. It's like, no, when you're uncomfortable, that's the most important time. That's when you get real with. That's when you figure out what you're made of. It's not when things go right. Any idiot can go through a sequence of events where things go well and they get what they want. No, the sequence of events that matters is the one that involves hardship and unexpected variables presenting themselves. Yeah. And a lot of like this circling back to the male loneliness of trying to understand these poor guys that we want to help them. We want to help them, but I don't have the platform to get through to them. I think if I could get time with them and get their attention, I could get their respect and then their trust and then be able to influence them eventually. But they really need someone to supplant Rogan as like the next, great masculine voice. Cause I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's someone. You know what? I think the conclusion of this show is the opportunity is right there. Somebody could step up and fill this void right now if they put the right message together.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible underpinning, just running with the message across the board in an intersectional way, that leaning into what is most uncomfortable is most fulfilling and most rewarding. Because I was thinking when I was listening to everything you were saying, because there were so many places we went, but you mentioned like conservative women, you mentioned so many different things. I was thinking about even the culture of the modern wealthy don't know how to live in uncomfortable spaces. Like a lot of really wealthy women like drug themselves to death every day with anti-anxiety. Yeah. So like you can't, not that people don't need that. Pharmaceuticals are completely legitimate if prescribed to you and seen as a necessity or beneficial. However, like the type of drugging oneself out of giving a shit about anything going on around you or engaging with it or learning about it is crazy. And it is uniquely American. I'm not saying it doesn't go on other places, but it's such a huge part of our culture. Even stuff like Ozempic for regular people as opposed to people with diabetes. It's like that drug can be extremely beneficial for people like addicts or people with diabetes. But other than that, not only does it just make random people who just want to be thinner, sure, but it kills a lot of the joy receptors in their brain, but they still take it because the alternative is like the alternative to all of these things is do something hard that feels like shit, but is rewarding. Learn about a genocide and dead kids under rubble that you funding as a person who believes in Jesus Christ, who hated nothing more than the rich man who would get through heaven easier than the, wait, what's the verse?
Oh,
There's
the eye through the needle through the eye of
It's
the
easier. It's
camel,
easier to
camel
fit
through
a
the eye of
camel
the
through
needle.
the eye of a
Yeah.
needle.
So it's like he loved sex workers. He hated the rich so fucking much. And you just don't want to give a shit about that as a Christian.
No,
It's bizarre.
Trump is the new Jesus.
Well, remember, these are not like it's easy to get lost in insanity, right? I mean, that's why insanity wins, is because it's just chaos. It's just variable, getting thrown at you all the time.
Yeah,
and that's what Steve Bannon's machine is doing, has been doing for a while now, and it's what they do rhetorically, culturally, and politically, and that's why I just try to establish rhetorical anchors for people to kind of maintain, like, yes, I'm in the right, they are wrong, they are white trash, idiots, bullies, and cowards. They are in the service of evil. They, even though that might not make them evil, they are the problem. They are the problem. And one of the ways to do that, based, from what you were just saying, is they're children, right? You say it's bizarre, it's childish. It's actually childish that they don't do their homework. And they're like, wait a second, Jesus hated the rich. So why am I listening to Joel Osteen, who has 3 different private jets and whatever?
Yeah.
Like, why is this guy stupid rich? Shouldn't he be like living a really humble life? Like, say what you would about the Catholics. The aesthetic is ostentatious of like the buildings and stuff, but the garb is nice and humble. It shows their humility and their commitment to community. That's one thing that, like, everyone kind of, it's okay to hate on, the straight white man these days. And I get it. It's like, it's retribution, not revenge, or sometimes it is revenge. When it's revenge, it's a negative thing. When it's retribution, it's a justifiable and understandable thing. But I would just encourage people to separate the straight white Protestant from the straight white Catholic, because in terms of the political history of America, my people matter more than anyone else's by a long shot. And it's a level of granularity that I don't think people bring to the history of understanding why these institutions are the way that they are, right? Like, it's easy. A lot of people will do that with Hollywood. How did the history of Hollywood? Because that's interesting and fascinating, whatever. But in terms of American political history, institutional history, it really is dominated by the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant man. And that carries with it a lot of problems. And now here you get to your, Olivia, your kind of core point, why I was so thrilled to bring you on here, is like, what's a better weapon to destroy that culture? Someone outside it criticizing it, or someone that came from the culture and knows it better than it knows itself? Like, I can expose Christian hypocrisy easily, because, like StatPat was reacting to last week, I know the damn texts. I know the damn texts. And I'm probably better than they do. But you shouldn't even need to. Like, the beautiful thing about what's going on with No Kings right now, I think, and we can start to wrap up here. I want your final thoughts, Olivia. But the thing that I think we've realized, we've gotten to, whereas, this is this I hate bullies part of me, which is, I don't really want to argue with the bully, because I think that's sometimes a waste of time, or it becomes a waste of time pretty quickly. I kind of just want to get up in the bully's face, tell them to shut the fuck up, sit the fuck down, and let the educated, enlightened, and empathetic people in the room go to work, and then dare him to hit me. And just get in his face and dare him to hit me until he either hits me and then he looks like an asshole and everybody pays attention and he's been exposed as the bad guy, or he doesn't hit me and then he walks away and looks like a little bitch. So That's kind of what I want to see happen rhetorically. Is like I keep watching these channels and people trying to reason with the MAGA trash. It's like, just stop. Just tell them to shut up. Just like, do you, like what I was just saying? Do you respect a child trying to argue with you about geopolitics when they're in 5th grade? Do you respect them when they're throwing a temper tantrum? Of course not. So why respect MAGA? Like I guess the core that I'm getting down to, the core point that I'm trying to remind my audience of is the respect is the problem. Stop respecting them.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
They're never going to get it.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a way to do a little bit of both. I think so. I'm from a really small town in Southwest Virginia in the Appalachians, and I'm very Appalachian proud. And I'm very, which doesn't mean I took offense to anything, because I know what you meant by it. So everything's contextual. But I'm very like white trash proud, right? And I'm obsessed with class consciousness. And I do think there's an in-between where, when I recently made a piece of content feeling like I was speaking to my people about who these people are in Los Angeles that they are taking out of their hospitality jobs and kidnapping without warrants. And maybe I was talking to all of Instagram, but my intention was I was talking to probably a lot of people from my hometown. My intention was to bring things up like, these people pay more in taxes than a lot of you. Now, do some of them know that? Maybe. Do a lot of them not know that? Yes. Either way, if I wink at, I could expose you for paying less in taxes than these people who also pay out a lot of welfare to your state as the 5th largest economy in the world, then if they can put 2 and 2 together, they think to themselves, oh, wow, that is bad. These people are being ripped out of their jobs, and they do pay more in taxes than me, and that makes them powerful or important or whatever. Now, to me, that's not what makes them important. It's the fact that most of them are indigenous to Los Angeles, and LA really belongs to them. And even if it didn't, it's weird as fuck that a piece of paper, that immigration is even a thing. It's weird. It's weird. All of it is fucking weird. Yeah, so I think there's a way to do both, but I do respect very much your hustle of hating a bully, meeting them where they're at head on. And I completely agree that the Democratic Party is not doing that, period. And it's very embarrassing. And my hope is in, right now, a little bit of local politics. I hope Zohran Mamadi, that's how his voice. I am big excited for him. And if he can win that election, which I think if the election is done fairly and not rigged, which is the question mark, he will, and we'll see. That could be the beginning of an in for a lot of people who don't want to be owned by the big AIPAC to get in there, you know?
Yeah,
APEC is something I really want to go after. I really want the platform to do it. Let's stay online. Let's step out. You take us home here, and then I'll do my sign off. And unless you got anything else, Olivia, you got anything else on your mind you want to share with our audience? You said you did your socials a minute ago, but anything else you want to plug?
No, this was such a fun hang. Cool.
Yeah. I'm glad that, like, because we've been wanting to dive into like male loneliness and the incel culture and the manosphere shit for a while now, because it's something that, like, I do feel is such a fundamental issue when it comes to men understanding their role in society and having a healthy relationship with their own masculinity. And a lot of that shit is just like a fucking mess right now. So I think the more it's talked about generally, the better it'll be. Like I'm just hoping more of a positive impact is made down the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Me and my
All
crystal,
right.
so much fun.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, Olivia, thank you so much for joining us for Stat Pat Stateless Patriot. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness. This is Left Coast Live, and we will always remind you at American Wasp that you don't get change in America by asking nicely.
Thank
Stick
you all for
around
watching.
and find out why by checking out my essays as always, and see you tomorrow. Wednesday again for Left Coast Live, as well as I'll be on this space at 4 o'clock Pacific. Thank you.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Olivia.
Bye.
And we're good. So I was thinking, what's your real quick before you go? What's your deal with the what's
That'd be good. Hello. Who's still here? What's poppin'? We got a couple more things to cover. Crazy times, right? God, that was good. That was a really great convo. I like we were just talking like a little post chat post called chat and whatnot, and yeah, the male loneliness stuff, the incel stuff, the manosphere stuff and whatnot is something I've really wanted to expand more on, just because of how prominent it is in social media right now, and how it's just leading to a lot of unhealthy men. Men who don't understand a lot of their who don't understand their masculinity and their roles in society. And I'm hoping that we get to cover that topic a bit more down the line. Let's see here. I'm going to cover a couple more things. Obviously, the protests happened this weekend. I didn't go to any of the protests, unfortunately. I ended up going to the Alameda County Fair, which was really fun, but it was mostly like just hanging with a bunch of friends, a whole bunch of friends, and God, it was so much fun. Like I'm just completely drained of serotonin and dopamine. Like so much laughing. Um, the rides at the fair were super fun. It was just nice. It was just nice to be laughing alongside friends, just having a great old time. Um, but it. So I'm still recovering from it. Like I'm drained. It's I've been groggy and grumpy and anxious all day, but fuck it, few more things to cover. But yeah, same day as that uh, was going on was the No Kings protest. We touched on it a little bit, as well as Trump's military parade for his birthday, and how embarrassing, just the videos coming out and like just all the technical issues that they were having. It was just a pathetic display. It was such a flop, and you love to see it. um, and of course, there's since our last show, Israel attacked Iran, and Iran struck back, and war is breaking out, and it's just continuing to escalate day by day. Um, some scary shit, some scary breaking news and whatnot. But we're going to cover the newest from Bell. I haven't seen it yet. So we're going to cover this and then probably call it a wrap. Here we go.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's
Right.
Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about Trump's involvement in Iran. As the region heats up, Trump's habit of saying things to make himself seem connected to every major event is creating major issues for U.S. diplomats.
This is like, it's like quintessential fundamental Trumpism. Like, it, everything has to involve him or center around him and shit. And God, it's just creating nothing but fucking problems. Video is called "Let's Talk About Trump, Iran, and Potential Involvement."
And undermining efforts in the region. A series of comments that are typically the kind of things that world leaders don't disclose have raised tensions, put the U.S. on the line, and are often contradictory, leading to greater possibility of direct U.S. involvement. Trump told ABC News, quote, "We're not involved in it. It's possible we could get involved, but we are not at this moment involved." To be clear, this is the President of the United States suggesting the U.S. could go to war with Iran. Secretary of State Marco Rubio took the same public stance initially, saying, quote, "Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in the strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region." But reporting says U.S. officials have told the press that Trump vetoed an Israeli plan for a strike to remove the Iranian leader. If he did,
Really?
that's probably the right move. So good for him. However, the idea that the U.S. has final say on operations is false. And it also implies that the U.S. greenlit all the other operations against Iran.
Yeah.
When the reality is that Trump is reported to have actively pushed back against the wider campaign and was ignored.
You don't say.
Even if U.S. pressure actually did deter this specific operation, this is information that should have never become public. The perception it creates is really bad for the U.S. and endangers U.S. forces abroad.
Yeah.
As far as potential U.S. direct involvement, It appears as though Trump has ordered a massive redeployment of U.S. aerial refueling capability, so it's closer to the conflict zone. This doesn't necessarily mean U.S. involvement is imminent, but this is something that would have to occur before U.S. involvement takes place.
Yeah.
Elsewhere, the term regime change is being used referencing Iran. That's a scenario that would carry massive implications for the entire region and would create a lot of instability that the U.S. is not really prepared for.
No.
It would absolutely undermine the long-time U.S. goal of being able to deprioritize the Middle East.
Yeah, like right now, Israel does have air dominance, so like the refueling stations could be for their jets and bombers and whatnot. But rumor has it that B-2 bombers are probably going to be used with bunker buster bombs so they can go after the nuclear sites in Iran.
However, a lot of the current administration's foreign policy seems stuck in the 1900s. So it's not a complete surprise that they're perhaps unintentionally this time undermining long-term U.S. interests. Iran is reaching out through non-U.S. diplomatic channels in a potential bid to end, reduce, or at least contain the scope of the conflict. The fact that Iran is reaching out to other players shows a decline of U.S. influence and power in the region, even if those other players eventually reach out to the U.S. on Iran's behalf. The only good news is that it seems like Trump's managers have been able to hammer home that he shouldn't be speaking off the cuff on the situation. And today at the G7, Trump was asked about what it would take for direct U.S. involvement. And he simply said, quote, "I don't want to talk about that." Democrats have introduced a resolution to require a vote before Trump uses military action against Iran. We'll see how long he can follow the very good advice of not commenting on this. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.
Which didn't take long because
Hi,
that video
I'm
was
Nicole.
very likely filmed before Trump posted on fucking was it Truth Social? Yeah, basically like he said everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Like this is within like the last like the last 3 or 4 hours. So like, because he was going on about like Iran should have taken the deal, they should have gotten did the nuclear deal with us, and now he's literally saying that the capital city of Iran, where there's 10 million people, should evacuate. Why the fuck is that happening? Oh God, man, Iran's been a long time goal for decades now, and it's war with them was never going to be a cakewalk. It was never going to be, it's not going to be like Iraq. It's not going to be like Vietnam. Hell, it's not even going to be like fucking Russia and Ukraine. I mean, fucking look how successfully that's going. Yeah, scary fucking times. Scary times. Can't get too wrapped up in it, I'm grinding away with my new job and going out and having fun when I can, seeing friends. Love is keeping me going. I hope it's keeping everybody else going as well. We have the progressive American Connor coming back to the show. He's been on a few times now, I believe, and he will be joining us Wednesday evening. Not quite sure on the time, but it depends on how soon I get done with work. But he is on Central Time, I believe. So It shouldn't be too late for him. Thank you all for joining, by the way. Well, you don't have to say hi anymore. You could say hi before I end off the stream here, but make sure you guys are subscribed and follow me and Dieter on Blue Sky and Instagram. I'm thinking about maybe making a Twitter again because I deactivated mine hella months ago, and then after 30 days, like they just wiped my account clean. I had that account since like August 2020. So it's like all of it just went bye bye, all gone. So well, I guess whatever. But yeah, great show tonight. The special guest Olivia was fantastic, and the conversation was great. This will be available for rewatch if you didn't catch the whole thing. And we'll see you all Wednesday. Thank you guys for joining.